Hey guys, I'm Nick.
Guys, Tim.
So we did our project with Boyd Funeral Home and collaborated with Marcella Boyd, owner of Boyd Funeral Home. Marcella is a very down-to-earth, lively, easy to talk to woman. She made our project very easy. I wouldn't say easy, but made it easier on us. Originally, we started out watching two commercials that she did and looked over her website, and that's when we sat down with Dr. Spain and kind of came to the conclusion that we were going to do basically a strategic marketing plan and somewhat of a budget for her. So we did our initial meeting with Marcella, and a few things that we went over with her were how we did not like the website. We thought it was rather unprofessional and didn't portray like what the funeral home industry kind of wants. She also incorporates this thing on the website called grief support, and it's an online grief support. So basically, if you are grieving after your loved one dies, she has a computer generated AI that you could talk to. It's almost like an AIM instant messenger. You could tell her like, "Hey, I don't feel well," and it'll talk to you. So we thought, that kind of needs to go because most people aren't going to want to talk to someone that's computer generated. And we also told her that in general, we don't think that the two commercials were necessary because it doesn't necessarily tie into a funeral home. Now I'll hand it over to Tim.
Okay, my portion of the project was the budget section, and I asked her how much she's currently spending on her marketing, and she couldn't give me exact numbers, but she said a rough estimate was about 68,000 a year, which seemed extremely high for a funeral home. So the first thing that we did was like we said, we were going to cut the commercials, which is about probably $30,000 to $40,000 of what she was spending, given like getting it actually put on air and recording it and paying people and all that, and then cutting the online grief service support. Cutting that was also going to serve or save her another like I don't know,
Couple thousand
couple $1,000.
over the course of the year.
Yeah, because she was paying monthly fees on that. And then also her website manager, she was paying a website maintenance fee, which we don't even think is a real thing. Like, unless you're making updates to the website, you don't need someone maintaining it. So she was paying like $1,500 a month to maintain her website, which we also told her to just scrap that. And if she needed to make changes, she could do it herself.
So some of the recommendations that we thought could tie into Boyd Funeral Home, we thought that it would be important for her to possibly collaborate with local companies such as caterers or florists. Obviously, during a funeral, you could either have a wake and everyone obviously orders flowers. So possibly tying in with those companies, she could possibly get some of those profits while also bringing more business to those companies. A second recommendation would be to incorporate some sort of internship, whether it's paid or unpaid is up to her, but possibly to choose a marketing major, maybe from Walsh, or if not, maybe within the Cleveland area that could control her social media and possibly take over the website so that we could cut out those costs for her.
And then my biggest suggestions for her was to market in churches. So to put flyers for her funeral home in church bulletins or in church pamphlets that they hand out in churches, because I assume the church market is going to try to have funerals. And the cost for doing that would be very low, just like design and printing fees of the flyers, and then maybe trying to get into the like pamphlets in the church or on the bulletin board if there's a fee for that. But if not that, it should be relatively cheap. I also gave her a list, I'm sure she already knew, but of churches that are in the area of both of her locations for funeral homes, about 10 churches in each area that she could look into if she was looking for it. And then I also suggested billboards that she could potentially have a billboard in the areas where her funeral homes are located and have a couple different target markets with the billboard, like try to get specific markets in with it. And the costs for that were also very low. They're about $500 to $1,500 a month to try to have a billboard up, plus actually making them like out of the vinyl material that's needed for billboards and the design costs for the billboard itself. So those were the two pretty much more basic marketing plans that I suggested.
And two things, lastly, that we also talked about a little bit were possibly incorporating an ad in the newspaper. In the Plain Dealer, that would cost roughly like $403 over the course of the year, which is relatively cheap form of marketing. And then a second thing that we talked about a little bit would possibly air something on the radio rather than doing the commercial. That's more of an expensive form of marketing, so maybe not go down that road, but it's a firm recommendation and a good one. Ultimately, this is our project, and we hope that it can help Marcella down the road with limiting costs and helping her productivity with the company.
I agree.